if it can go wrong, it will go wrong. So hopefully you are able to see this. It looked like my live stream wasn't on, so I'm gonna just repeat what I initially talked about in case you missed it. So tonight we're going to be painting a chameleon, and we're actually going to be using mixed media, so we're going to use watercolor and colored pencils tonight to create this chameleon. Resources for tonight's class are in the chat or down below in the description below this class, and you can grab the reference image as well as the trace image that you can use to trace or sketch or transfer your image to your paper. Let's see, this class hopefully will take about an hour, might take a little bit longer. And if you have any questions or you want to let me know that you're here in chat, let me know, say hello. And I think that about covers it, hopefully. If I missed anything, let me know. We'll get started here. I'm going to actually trace this image tonight just for time's sake. But hey, Jan, it's nice to see you in here. So great. I'm so glad that you're with me tonight. So if you don't want to draw this chameleon, go ahead and go over to the chat. So this is the little guy that we are going to be drawing and painting tonight. And I think if you missed it, we are using colored pencils and watercolors. So if you have a good set of watercolors, Coral, it's nice to see you out here. Hopefully you can see me. It says I'm having trouble here, but I'm not sure. Oh, there we go. Okay. And Colin's here too. All right, we got a full house tonight. That's awesome. Thanks, guys. It's nice to have you here. One of these days we'll do one of these in person. I know that for our next Patreon get-together is going to be a Zoom call, and we're going to do some, we're going to be able to communicate back and forth a little bit better, and I think that's going to be awesome. So, all right. So I will quit talking and I'll get to painting, because that is what you are here for. So I'm going to scooch this guy over. And I had tape here. So how is everybody doing here? Oop. Oh, it looks like, Laurel, you're having some issues with your internet. Hopefully it isn't me, and hopefully you can get it fixed here. I know Andy probably is really interested in doing a lizard here. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to tape this guy down a little bit, and I'm going to get to town. If I'm moving too fast for you guys, just let me know in the chat and I will slow it down. I'm sure I can gab about something. Okay. So what's kind of nice, and this is just a fluke because this was on my desk, but as you can see, I used this tracing before, and I'm using it again, but you sometimes can lose your place when you are doing something multiple times, so it's kind of helpful to use a different color sometimes. And I just kind of got lucky there, but it's definitely helpful. So hopefully everybody is doing well and you're all healthy and still enjoying the quarantine. I don't know if people really enjoy being locked up, but hopefully you're not going stir crazy. I imagine that folks are ready for fall. I know I am. That's great that you're on here, Jan. I was just thinking about our class right before this class, thinking about everybody, wondering how they're doing. I often have the opportunity to see folks because I'm at the farmer's market, but there are some folks I don't see as much, and I'm missing our group. Okay. Actually, that's okay. Okay. Okay, so I think we are good here with our tracing. I may have to tape that down. Now, when I did my first illustration here, because I like to do these before I do class, I used some gouache in here, which gouache has chalk in it, and it gives it kind of a different texture and feel, and of course it is more opaque. So I think this time I'm going to stick with watercolor. Let's see, I may need to move this down a little bit. Now this guy has some gorgeous colors in him, and this should be fun for those of you who love to use color, because we are going to get to play with lots of it. So I'm just grabbing some brushes here, some round brushes. Might be able to see those there. Tonight I also have some white gouache in case I need it. The gel pen just doesn't work for me. And also I'm going to have my colored pencils. But first we're going to start in watercolor. And we're going to go back to, I'm going to scoot this back a little bit more here. If you could see my desk, this is when I really truly clean my desk off, is when I have class. So it's good to have class regularly. So I'm going to mix up some color here. I think I am going to use my cobalt teal, which I haven't had a chance to use it much here lately. Just going to mix up some of these colors with, and I'm going to switch my camera here so you can see the palette a little bit better. And we've got a little bit of yellow. So I'm using a Hansa yellow here. Hopefully that can focus. There we go. That looks kind of like a green. It's probably got a little bit of blue in there. And I'm going to need a little bit of orange. And some green. So I'm going to use some sap green here if you don't have, with a nice yellow. But sap green is fast becoming one of my favorite greens to use here. It's definitely a convenience color for me. All right. So we've got orange, teal. Even if you have some sparkly colors, you might even be interested in using them at some point. I know I used a little bit up here in this pink area and had fun with that, but we'll kind of start with a light touch and then get going. So first and foremost, I'm going to do a wet and wet technique, and I'm going to lay down some water all over here. So I can really get some watercolor feel. And you can get as detailed or as loose as you want to in this assignment. This is really just for your fun and to exercise using some different tools this go around. Now, if you don't have colored pencils, don't let that stop you. Just use what you have. Use your paints and just paint along then. So this water has kind of a green tinge to it. And so that's good for me because I can kind of see where my water is and if it's still wet. So I'm just going to start laying in some colors. So where this guy is kind of turquoise up here, I'm going to start putting in some turquoise in these areas, or teal, cobalt teal. And just start letting it do the watercolor magic. This guy would make a great kind of like a cartoon character, I feel. So first I have to tell you that I got this image off of Unsplash. And I believe the gentleman who took the picture is Pierre Bayman. So I have to give him props. This is his photo that we're using tonight. And I'm just kind of going for broke here. I'm just going to put it in these areas and just let it spread however it will. I mean, who doesn't love this cobalt teal? He's got a little here too. So I'm going to rinse off my brush pretty good, and then I'm going to hit that yellow so I can put it in this area. And any other place, that seems to be like the most yellowy spot. I might get a little bit more pigment and just tap it in here. And then I'll kind of just keep moving around. Now you could actually take this teal, because blue and yellow make green, and tap it in here, or mix it in here, and it will kind of make this green color. We're just having fun, so just have fun with it, and watch where it takes you, where the color takes you. Okay, and I'm going to, I have this shell pink and this potter's pink that I'm just gonna kind of dab in here. It's kind of, this potter's pink is sort of like a dusty rose color. That might be a little dark, but we'll just go with it. And we do have some nice reds in here. And I'm going to use this quinacridone coral that I have. It's a Daniel Smith color, just because I like the color. It's a lot more red. Or I shouldn't say it's more red. It's a little bit brighter than what's on this guy. And lighter in some respects. But I like the color, so I'm going with it. And then he's got this stuff around this area. I'm just kind of shimmying and shaking it here. And then I will hit my orange. We'll see if this will make a muddy mess. He's got kind of, you can just tap it in there because these are kind of like little spots that he's got. If you really look at the image, and they're just kind of funky. So it's got these going up to his eyes and kind of around. Now if you get paint somewhere where you don't want it, all you have to do is wipe off your brush, lift in the area where you don't want the paint. I want to be able to see my iris there, or where I need to put an iris. And then if you want to lift anywhere, you can do that. Over here I want to lift a little bit because he's got this light spot here. And I think I want to do a little something down this branch. And this is dried up a little. So lots of artists work in mixed media, and it can be really fun to change things up. You know, I have a lot of students who like to do pen and ink, and for a long time I did watercolor with pen, and you know, then I kind of fell in love with watercolor and stopped using the pen, but it definitely creates a different feel, and it's worth exploring to see if there are certain mediums that you like more than others. I think watercolor is a great medium because it is portable, it's non-toxic, and you really truly can do it anywhere, and it's pretty fun. Okay, so this is really wet. I am going to grab my hair dryer and give it a little shot, and then we'll kind of keep moving here. But if you need to catch up, this is a good time for you to be able to do it. So I will be right back, and we'll get going again. Okay, let's see. I think I'm going to work on his iris, and I am going to do that with watercolor to start. And I'm just going to use a little bit of brown. Actually, I have a neutral tint that is basically a brown here. And I'm going to water it down quite a bit here, so I don't lose where my eye is. I think I can get a little bit finer point with my brush. There we go. Okay, and I may just do a little lifting around the bottom here. We're gonna have to go in and put the pupil in. So this has some nice texture. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit and see if I can move my camera. See if that'll focus. Maybe we'll go in just a little bit. There we go. Hopefully that kind of focus. But there's some really nice granulation here from this paint mixing, and cobalt teal really does a lovely job of giving us texture. So you may or may not want to keep that. Right now our focal point is right here, which is not what we want it to be, but we're going to expand on this guy and really make him stand out. So I am going to, I think I am actually going to do one other thing before we move on. I am going to paint this foot here. And just kind of define this for myself. Okay. All right, so now we can probably switch to colored pencil. Again, if you don't have colored pencils, no worries, you can paint along with us. Let's see. So I'm going to show you. This is actually a tray for silverware, and I have all my colored pencils in these. I have a couple of these with colored pencils in them, and it's actually a really handy tool for your colored pencils, because if you do a lot of work in colored pencil, it's all about which colors you can access. Okay, so I'm going to start with orange, an orange color, and you know, I am going to grab my sharpener here. I use an old pill bottle for my shavings. And you really want, especially when I'm working with colored pencil, I really want to have a sharp point on my pencils. I think it makes a big difference when using them for shading. It can also make a mess here. Okay. So I'm going to kind of go in this area and define around this eye a little bit, and I'm looking at my reference image, and there's lots of really pretty reds and oranges here, and I lost a little bit of the striping kind of that goes on to his eye here, so you can just gently focus on it. And he has little spots around his eye, so you can kind of create these spots in the color. Because looking at it doesn't look like much, right, when you're going along, but he will look more and more like himself here. So I have this awesome piece of equipment that actually, I did quite a bit of colored pencil for a while when I did a project that was a year-long project. And this machine actually, the base of it heats up and it will help kind of melt your wax of your pencil a little bit. And it's really pretty cool to be able to use it in that way. I think you could probably do something similar with a casserole pan and maybe a light underneath it to just heat it up just a little bit. Anyway, it was pretty cool. And I haven't used it for a while, but it just kind of makes everything melt together, kind of like you can mix your paints. Okay. He's got a little bit of his mouth kind of comes up here, and he's got this kind of orangey red color here too. And they're kind of these circles and spots. These guys are just so funky looking and fun. And there are lots of little circles here. So you can draw in these round shapes. How is it going out there, guys? Is my internet connection okay for you? Let me know in the comments. It's saying that my stream isn't working properly. You let me know if you're having trouble hanging in there with me tonight. So of course, when you're with colored pencil, you know if you press harder on your colored pencil, it lays down more wax and makes it darker. And then just like a regular pencil, if you're lighter with it, it's lighter. Oh, good. Thanks, Colin. It's hard to tell. Like one screen tells me it's bad, another screen tells me it's good. So thanks, Colin. I appreciate it. Good deal. So, and there's no shame in mixing mediums. If you want to do colored pencil and watercolor, and that's your jam, that's awesome. I think what makes artists kind of unique in this day and age is finding the tools that they know work for them, and they're able to excel with those tools. So if you love to draw and you have a love-hate relationship with watercolor, well, maybe you want to combine the two and work that way for a while until you're more comfortable with watercolor. Sometimes one medium will inform another, and you'll just improve all around. So don't give up, but maybe adapt with different tools. So this guy has this ridge here. So there's this ridge here, and then there's a ridge over the other eye in the background. So I'm drawing that kind of in here to represent that. And I didn't put in any of his spiny stuff because I felt like we could add it after the fact. So as you can see, I've moved into this pink color, and I'm just kind of using it in this area, kind of around the head. I'm going to have to draw in this bit because it looks like it got washed out there a little bit. So, and really just kind of look at the shapes. and you can just kind of shade it in there. What I love about colored pencil is you can get really vibrant or keep it very, you know, subdued. And feel free to hit me up with any questions you might have that pertain to colored pencil. I use Prismacolor colored pencils. I do think sometimes it makes a difference on what you're using if you're, you know, when you get into your intermediate stages. But, you know, everybody has kind of their own preference. Okay. So for now, that's going to be okay. You'll notice I use, usually hang on to a couple pencils at a time, or multiples, because I kind of go back and forth with different colors that I'm using. So you see here, I'm going to find kind of a darker maroon color. So this is Crimson Lake here. And some of these colors you might recognize because they also have them in watercolor paints too. But this is a dark, it seems like it's a little bit darker. And down here we have some shadows with this eye. So we can start kind of giving this thing dimension. This is a little more red here. And we've got some red stuff going on in this area. Now I'm going to kind of lightly put in some dots here and kind of define this area a little bit. I don't know if I want to lose all of my lovely kind of watercolor bleeding stuff, so I'm going to kind of work on the side of subtle a little bit and then just kind of keep working it. Although this is pretty red. And again, if I press a little harder, it gets a little darker. I like to really have that point, so I will. See how nice that point is? You can really add detail that way. And you can make little circles here. There are some blues in here as well. And these are perfect for little dots, and you can just really take advantage of what you've got going on here with this funkiness in your watercolor. So I'm kind of going between little circles and shading in. Now, if you tried to go over this with watercolor paint after the fact, you might be disappointed that it doesn't quite work like you think it will, because these are wax crayon or wax pencils. And so that is why I chose to do watercolor first. So I'm just going to kind of sketch this in for now. Here. and I'll probably be going back and forth quite a bit here between colors. We've got this guy. Just making sure I don't get lost on where I'm supposed to be. So I'm gonna snag a couple of blue colors here. These down here. So I see in this area we've got some blues, so you can do some blue dots in this area. And you can kind of add some blues in this area. This is kind of like a mixture of blue and red here. And so it kind of makes this purple. So I'm going to just kind of go around these blue shapes. And we have some kind of vibrant little triangles up here. You can mix colors too. I'm not using any stumps here tonight, but if you know what a pencil stump is, you can use that as well. And I'm just kind of looking at my image, and these are kind of round and they're little round nubbies. Really just kind of giving this guy some texture. So if you didn't have colored pencils with you and you just have watercolor, you could use wet and wet technique, and then where you use salt, and this would give it texture. And that's always kind of fun. That's one of my techniques that I really enjoy. I'm gonna mix a little orange in this because this is kind of a orangey red here. And we still have this stuff down here, don't we? So you can use the side of your pencil to shade areas. Because this is kind of a textured paper, it gives it a texture by doing that. And you can, much like watercolor, you can mix colors together and then it can create this optical illusion or mixing of colors. There is a gal that is on Instagram, and her first name is Morgan. I'll have to see if I can find her information for you guys before we get off tonight. And you should really go check out her work. It is amazing. She's amazing with a colored pencil. She does such vivid illustrations. And you'll have to let me know if you want to see more content that is not necessarily watercolor exclusive. It's nice to change things up every once in a while, I think. It kind of makes things fresh. Oh, and you know, there is a pencil in here. I wonder if I have one. Yes, I do. I've forgotten all about it. So this is called a Colorless Blender. Don't mind the dust. And you can use one of these pencils to blend. So as you can see here, we have this mixture of blue and red. You can take a blender and you can see what that does. It kind of blends those colors together. It's a wax, I think, just wax pencil that can really kind of fill in some of those spots if you don't want texture. So if you're going to invest in colored pencils or Prismacolor pencils, you might be really interested in getting a couple of these to play with, because it really can be fun. And as you can see, it just kind of blends that really nicely. All right, so let's see, we've got some blue here. I'm just gonna lightly sketch in some blue. And then I'm gonna switch us to green. I don't want to move too fast for you guys, but I know that you probably have other stuff going on in the evening too. So I'm gonna get right into the heart of the eye here a little bit and do a little more defining. And let's see. So I'm going to take this green. I think this is a lime peel green. I'm going to sharpen it up a little bit. And I'm going to start going after this eye. Now, really, when you're looking at your imagery, really observe how the shadows are and where the values change, where it gets darker. That is really what can help make a painting or a drawing, make or break it in some cases. I'm gonna bring you in a little bit there. So I've just been kind of lightly sketching here, and you can really tell that, but we need to get into some more vibrant coloring, I think. Going to get in here. So this darker green can kind of give me a shadow here. Now, one thing that I have told my students, I think we've had some classes here online, but warm light, cool shadows, cool light, warm shadows. So write that down. And when you're looking at work or out and about, observe if the artists do that. Warm light, cool shadows, cool light, warm shadows. I'm going to throw a little bit of teal in here. And I had a great indigo color, but who knows what I did with it. Maybe it's here. And if you have to, just keep layering your pencils. So you just have this crease here where the eye goes around. You can even use this pencil for the pupil here. And because it's this nice pointed tip here, I can do some thin lines. And he does have this little nostril right here. So I'm going to draw that in there before I forget. We have his jawline here. Now, you know, I learned from a teacher in Pocatello about, his name is Bob Beeson, and he is a teacher over at the Pocatello Art Center. And he shared with me the magic of the electric eraser or battery operated eraser, and it will often lift colored pencil. So if you run into a place where you're having a difficulty, you can always use a battery operated eraser to help you out there. Let's see, I'm gonna use this one. Do you think he's coming to life so far? And, you know, this process is a little more time consuming, I think, in some ways than painting. But it's still just as rewarding, I think. It's just nice to mix up your tools a little bit. So I'm trying to think, what is next week? Let's see. Sorry, I'm whipping out my calendar here. So next week is the 1st. So I have a meeting on the 1st, so we probably won't be having this class. But the following Thursday, we will have this class. All you have to do is check my calendar on my website. I try to keep that updated with class information to let you know where class is. Once a month, I have a Patreon live class, and I am not live on YouTube. And we're going to start doing Zoom classes there, so I can actually talk to you guys and you can ask me the questions that you might have in person. Of course, you do not have to be on camera there if you don't want to, if you're not comfortable with that. You do what's comfortable for you. But if you want to be able to ask questions in the like, I felt like that was the best, easiest kind of way to go. And I miss my students. I miss seeing my students on a regular basis. So at least it gives me an opportunity to see some of you in person and just talk to you. Or it will, I should say. So you can see I'm just kind of moving between colors. I'm kind of always looking at my source here to check on colors. I don't know where my white is. Oh, that's not it. There it is. So you can see one of the things that really helps drawings come to life, and sometimes I will kind of do this early on to kind of give my subject a little bit of life, is to put their pupil in their eyeball. Sorry, I keep hitting the microphone. This is a pretty dark gray. So I can put this little, and sometimes it feels like this white isn't white enough. You can use, that's why I got the gouache out. He's got this little kind of lid around here, and we'll see if it actually, if you can even see that. I think it looks better on camera than it does in my view. Jan, you need a screen a lot bigger than your phone. Does it help you if I zoom in at all? You'll have to let me know. That might be more helpful. And you may not actually need to see my palette cam right now, so I will see if I can turn that off. Bam. Okay. Maybe that'll help you. Let me know. So, you know, you can see here that I'm not getting all the little tiny details where the bumps are. You could go in with a darker or lighter pencil and kind of go around and make some bumps. You can even take a light color. We'll see if it will work with this white to give it texture too. But really kind of look at your subject. Oh, good. I'm glad to see that that helps, Jan. Okay. So here he's got kind of this ridge. I'm just going to sketch it in with my colored pencil. He's just really interesting looking. He's got this weird little, I guess we'll call it a nose for that. I'm sure that's not the scientific term. Let's see. Actually, kind of sketching his kind of mouth line here. And you can see here in my image, I mean, this is what we're talking about. He has all these little bumps. Now you can really get into that and do that. I'll try to do a little bit of that tonight, but I think it'd make for a much longer class. So you can work your shading here. He's got some turquoise, or this is light aqua that I'm using. And I didn't draw in all his bumps, I just kind of traced his overall shape. Whoops. There we go. So you can see, you can kind of add those. And what using watercolor does, it allows us to get pigment down, color down right off the bat. So then we can kind of keep moving, and you can use as much as the paint that you want to use, or you can use it as a base for your drawing. Here. I think the texture from the watercolor adds to it. So this part kind of moves into this orange and pink color. Let's see what happens when we use our Colorless Blender. And kind of you can kind of draw these little lines if you want to. He's even got some orange here I see that I missed, so you kind of just move around and find new discoveries. He also kind of goes into this green yellow color here. You can blend it. I think we can add I think this extends even farther. Okay, so he kind of has some green and aqua down below here as well, with some orange too. So I'm gonna just kind of lightly sketch in here. And still kind of utilize this watercolor that's in here. Sometimes you can use your finger to blend a little bit too. I'm going to kind of draw in. Oh, there's my kitty Lucy. Little sweetheart. She's on a clock and she likes to go to bed at a certain time. I think I can even bring a little bit more of this red in here. So how do you guys feel? Do you want to go over our hour a little bit more? Or are you at that point where you're like, it's bedtime, man? You let me know. So I'm going to zoom it out just a little bit here. So I didn't include any of these little ridges. Dad to the rescue. So I think this gal's name that I was talking about here a minute ago. So you said go for it, Colin. Keep going. All right. So I'm going to. Let's see. Instagram. I'm going to show you her feed because she's amazing. So her name is Morgan Davidson. And she does these amazing drawings with colored pencil. So check her out if you have the ability to do that. I mean, they're just, look at that. She's amazing. So check her out if you're looking for a little bit of inspiration. Her name is Morgan Davidson. And she's, oops, sorry, you're not in there. Morgan Davidson. She's exceptional. And you'll probably like her work a lot. Okay. So I think what's cool about colored pencil is you can really, like I'm kind of sketching in lightly here to get these colors rolling, but you can continue to work them and you can blend them. And just really go to town. Oh, that's awesome, Laurel. I'm glad that you're having fun adding more details. You can really go to town with this and just have a blast. I think what I love about this kind of work is that it's very meditative. Is that the right word? You know, it's very relaxing. It kind of, you get kind of lost in the details, in the layering. And I think that's why art is so great, because it really is kind of an outlet for people to relax. If they can be in the moment and enjoy the process without worrying about what they're doing as much, and more about, hey, this is, I'm really enjoying this, I'm learning. It's hard. That's very hard. I know it is. But stay with it because it's well worth it. I'm not quite sure what I'm doing over there. This guy has the funniest, like, little lip, and of course it's not this color. It's kind of a pink color, but he kind of looks like a Gary to me. What do you think? So you can kind of see I sort of layer what I'm doing, so you can add your intensity there. This is kind of, oops, that's the wrong color. And we have a shadow in this area that I don't want to forget. I want to kind of mix in this. And so I'm taking this is a gray color. I think I want an indigo color if I've got one. This one's a blue. To kind of go in and make this shadow. It's kind of in the shape of a triangle a little bit. This one probably can come out more. If you're having trouble drawing something, just take a good solid look at it and see if it resembles a shape. I mean, like, what is that shape? So for this guy, he's kind of a triangle that kind of fades off. Yeah, don't get disappointed if you're feeling like things aren't looking like they should. Just reassess and readjust, and you'll get it. Look at the overall shape. Got a little bit of, this kind of makes me think of geodes, this guy, because he's got all these different little spots and dots. And you know, another thing that's really helpful, you've probably heard it here lots of times, but squinting your eyes to see if something, where it lies in your value study here, because sometimes if your values are off, your drawing can look off. So sometimes you might need to darken something, but squinting, your eye doctor will say that's a bad idea, but your art teacher says it's a good idea. So squint if you're having trouble. I think I need to kind of mute these, darken this a little bit. For now, at least. I have some really great watercolor paint that is the same color that his nose is here. It's shimmery stuff right here, but I'm not certain it will really stick after the fact, after being over this pencil. Maybe next time we'll have to do something a little bit easier, like an apple or something, you know, so you can kind of see value. We can look at value that way as well, because this guy's got all kinds of crazy colors. Okay, and this is kind of, So this is really light blue. He's kind of got this blue business going on here. I'm going to show you. I'm going to use a little bit of gouache because I feel like that might really help him come alive in some ways. And I'm going to do a little bit lighter tone in his iris. See if it'll pick it up. Maybe, maybe not. Okay. So my brushes are over here. I still have my water here. So this is designer gouache here. You've seen it in the tube. I had it earlier somewhere on my desk. And you can reconstitute it with water. And that's one thing I do love about watercolors, is that they can be reconstituted and you can keep using them. Acrylic paints are expensive, and it can be kind of an expensive hobby. Now you see here, I'm probably going to have to layer this gouache, but it's kind of giving me what I want here. I want to give this guy life. So it might require a couple of layers. I think I'm going to if it will stick here. You could do this with a gel pen if you have a gel pen that works. It might not work on your waxy pencils, but truthfully, these little white highlights bring things to life, I find. Sometimes you can really figure out where you're off in a likeness. You know. Okay. I'm going to move him now. Need to scooch him around a little bit. Okay. That's probably too far away for you guys, isn't it? I'll zoom in again then. So, and you can see, like, I'm looking at my image here. His eye is the darkest, is one of the darkest areas. And we have this area, and then we have this area. So once I start putting in those areas a little bit darker, he will start really coming to life. So I'm going to define this arm here, because really this is a cast shadow. And it goes into his little paw. So you're always kind of assessing light, no matter what kind of medium you're using, if you're striving for a likeness value. And I don't know that I have a black, so I'm using this dark indigo for now for my shadow. So, you know, the whole warm light, cool shadows. Indigo is a cool color. I feel like I can darken this up. Which means then I can darken this guy up. In this area. And I'm just pressing down harder. You can take your, if you had a blender, take your blender and use it to assist you. I'm going to mix these two colors together. The blender's pretty awesome, especially if you're able to heat your drawing up a little bit. I still feel like this guy could get darker. So if you're curious to know what a warm shadow would look like, if you had cool light, moonlight, or something, and you'd have a warm shadow, it'd be like a dark purple or maroony color. Kind of depends on what your color palette is that you're working with. But just going to kind of try to draw this arm in a little bit. I've lost some of it thanks to the watercolor. We've got some green and red here. Got some more green here. I'm just constantly looking and assessing here. I can choose to add or not. He's got some kind of pinky. This might be a little too pink. But we'll draw him in anyway. So he looks more lizard-like. And then he's got a little bit of this kind of light blue. And a little bit of teal here, because there's a little bit of a shadow here. Pretty slight. Actually, this kind of connects down there. And because I'm starting off kind of light, you know, and I'm layering, if things need to be adjusted, it's not a big deal to do that. And he's got a little bit of green that goes into this arm. Now I'm kind of just blending colors here. You can totally So Jan says, looks like a dinosaur head looking to the right toward a stylized cataclysmic upheaval of ice and lava. Yeah, he's definitely funkalicious, right? And I forgot the little stripes on his arms here. There's some red kind of orangey. I mean, he's definitely, Our Patreon patrons definitely got us a challenging concept. This tonight, this guy is he's definitely putting us to task, and is definitely fun. It's kind of nice to change things up for sure. So I'm always open to suggestions, you guys, if you have ideas and you want to do something specific. Okay, so I still think he looks like a Gary. And this can still be shaded a little bit more, so I can continue to kind of add. I am digging his stripes though. They are pretty fun. Jan, it feels like it's been so long since I've seen you, and I didn't see you too long ago. But it's seems like it's been a while. Okay, so I'm kind of squinting my eyes because I see this. There's a kind of line here, and we could probably shade the arm more here. He's got some, I do really like this red pink part on his elbow, so keep that. We can kind of give him some texture. I still haven't quite worked out this shadow quite right. Okay. In this area, he's got some kind of green here too. So I'm kind of using this, what is this color? Aqua. This might be a darker teal color. You can use your little And you can see by using this blue over this kind of red paint color, it starts making it look kind of purple in our screen there. I'm gonna see what other greens I might have here. This is pretty vibrant here, so I'm going to press a little harder. Kind of goes into that shadow. This can soften things too. Oh, my camera just went off. I guess we're not using that one anyway. So it can soften things much like you can use a brush to soften in watercolor. Just kind of smooth out the color. And I think we can keep working here. So really practice pushing hard on your pencil, using it lightly. Get to know your pencils a little bit. This is a great kind of project because you're mixing colors and fading into one another, as well as dealing with this other paint choice. I'm just going to kind of go in this with this blue. While still using this is a turquoise color here. But I might be able to define these areas a little bit. Now we can look and see what happens when we use a white color over the top here. So I'm pressing pretty hard and kind of blending in, if you will. It won't get rid of this kind of corally undertone, but it kind of blends with this blue a little bit. So what questions do you guys have? Is there anything that's not very clear or that you have questions on? As I know people are kind of winding down their day here. Leave them in the chat there. So we're going to deepen this shadow and kind of fade it out a little bit. And we're going to do that with this blender. Basically, this blender is really good at filling in all of the texture of the paper. So when you're using this or heating it up, it kind of does the same thing. Okay, so Jan said that she had watercolor pencils too, and they're too soft, so she needs regular colored pencils. Yes, they definitely will behave differently than your wax colored pencils, because these are primarily wax here. It's just a different feel, a different kind of blending feel as well. So I mean, I don't know, I really love colored pencil and working in colored pencil. It's kind of a treat because it's you can get so precise with your point and do a lot of stuff that way. Really going for the detail if that's your jam. So they are different, and you know, where we live, we kind of you know, Hobby Lobby is sort of the place around here to get supplies if you want to do it in person. Otherwise, you got to drive to go and go to a Michael's in Idaho Falls. So Dick Blick is always a good option for supplies, I think, because they have so much stuff. And I really like Prismacolor, and it's primarily what I've used for colored pencils. But Kyle, my husband, he likes the Derwent. I think it's Derwent pencils. So a lot of times you can kind of test out the pencils. If there's a stand that has pencils that aren't in a pack, you can kind of try them out there at the store. But even if you just got a little pack of the Prismacolors, you would probably really like them. I'm going to have to put some green in here, I think. I really like this bloom from the watercolor. So this definitely is going to be our longest class to date, I think, which is kind of awesome. How does the time work for you guys? Does Thursday still work for you all? All my regulars? wish I could find a black. Nope. Well, I'll try a black cherry. So Colin says Thursday works great. So we'll just kind of keep it on Thursday. It seems to, if it's good for you guys, it's good for me. So you can continue to just keep going into this and making it darker and richer. You'll find that there are certain colors that you migrate towards. I've used a lot of this black cherry for different drawings. But I think it's good when you're starting out to start out with a kit, you know, like maybe 12 colored pencils or something. Get what you can afford, and or if you're not sure you're gonna like working with colored pencils, maybe you just get a few and then keep going. This guy does look a little funky, doesn't he? He's kind of... got kind of this shadow here. You can see like the little details sort of really can make a big impact there. It's got a little red under here. I'm going to zoom out here. So you can kind of see the difference between these two as I'm kind of working my way up to this other guy. You know, I'm starting light and then eventually it's going to get much darker and richer. And I'm going to zoom in here. You can see this guy's got more little circles in him to give him texture. I mean, and we'll get there with this guy too, but you can kind of see the difference between the two. And this is one of those things I could kind of continue working on and working on and working on. And one of the things that I noticed when I was observing and looking at the photo is that we have kind of these scalloped edges because these are all little round nubs. And when you start kind of rounding out these edges, it starts kind of looking more and more lizardish, I guess. So before I let you go, because we are now at the hour and 45-minute mark, let me know what's something you'd like to see next week. Do you want to see more colored pencil? Well, I guess it won't be next week. It will be the following week. Do you want more colored pencil, more painting? Let me know. See, I'm looking at my calendar again. So I'll be back on the 8th. Check ihavegumption.com for the calendar there if you wonder if we have classes or not. We can do more colored pencil stuff. We can do gouache. We can do just drawing even. It's been a while since we've all had a drawing class together. So this is like kind of a fine example of, there's a shadow under here, but when I'm looking back at it, I can see it here a little bit. It's just a little bit darker. So you're constantly kind of looking back and forth. So Jan's interested in all of the above, she says. Also urban sketching, watercolor. So definitely, we can definitely do some of that too. I am going to do a video on some tools that I've used to do some plein air painting here recently. So I will let you know when that's up actually on the channel, so you can kind of check it out too if you're interested in that kind of stuff. But I'll think of something that we can do that is urban sketching. I'll make a note of that because I think that's a great idea. It's a lot looser and can be a lot of fun to do. And definitely around Pocatello, there are places that are good places to go. And now that it's cooling down, that might be an option too for those of you who are in town who might be interested in getting outdoors one of these first days, so we can do some of that stuff live in person too. But that will be our next class. And I'll find some stuff, some resources for you to check out, and yeah, we'll make it happen, man. So probably with that, I will start wrapping up here. Oof. Throw your questions in the chat there, and if you aren't done with this, keep working on it. Keep working on it. find out where you can go with it. Definitely, there's a great resource there that you can use that was on Unsplash. The guy's a very talented photographer, and so the colors are very vibrant, and so definitely keep working on it. And I'd love to see them. If you're actually want to share them with me, you probably know how to get in touch with me, so you could send me your pictures if you want to. So throw your questions down there if you've got some, and I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for being a part of this class and being game to do something different. It was a little bit longer, but you guys have held out and you're still hanging on with me, and I appreciate that. And I just want to say thanks to my Patreon backers, Colin and Laurel. You guys make this happen, and I appreciate you always being in my class and always being ready to learn, because that's why I'm here, to teach you guys something that maybe you didn't know already. So, and I just, I miss seeing you guys. I really do. So thanks, Jan. I really appreciate you being here too. Maybe my computer's dying or something's having an issue here, but so it's probably telling me it's time to go. But thanks, guys. If you want to find me on the webs and you're new here, this is how you can find me. I know my regulars are here, so this is old information to you guys, but I appreciate you being here. Thank you very much for your support, and I will look forward to seeing you on the 8th, I think. Not next Thursday, but the following Thursday, and we'll do some urban sketching then. So thank you, and stay well, and I will see you later.